your name? Hallelujah. All right, so me and Nadia, or Nadia and I, we moved to Houston a little bit more than 10 years ago. And when we moved out here, we found a job. Well, we initially transferred jobs from what we was working, the same place that we were working at in Atlanta before we came there. But then when we came here, I didn't like how they were treating people at my job, and I just no longer liked the job. So I started looking for another job. So Nadia started working for a sales company. And I think we was operating on one car at the time. So I had to take her to the interview. The interview happened to be in like a Lowe's or a Best Buy's or something like that. So I just sat by and watched them interview her. Now, the interview was basically, she was just pitching people. It was to sell like cable TV. So she didn't really know what the interview was going to be, and I didn't know what it was going to be. But basically, they just took her into like a Sam's Club or a Lowe's, and she was just asking people if they had any cable or satellite television. And that's what they were doing. So I was watching them give her instructions on to do this. And I was like, you know what? Man, I could do this. Because I was so used to selling stuff before, selling bags and perfumes and everything else. And I was like, how much y'all pay per person? Oh, y'all pay $100 per person that signs up. I said, man, can I get an interview? So they interviewed. So the next Monday, they interviewed me. So I was already ready to do what I need to do because I just saw what they were doing for Nadia. So I felt like I was gonna be a natural. And I ended up being like a natural, right? So they hired us. Now me and Nadia, we both work at the same company. We're both gonna work at the same time. Great schedule because, at that time we only had one car, so it was convenient, right? So as they started to teach me and her how to sell, and we're starting from scratch on learning how to sell. We started from straight scratch from learning how to sell in their system, right? So every day they taking us to a chalkboard, and we have a mentor over us, teaching us each process of how to sell these items, these cable TV, right? So they're taking us through the systems every single morning, and we're rehearsing back to them almost like we're acting. Like somebody's acting like a customer, and one person is selling them and overcoming the objection, and then going in for the close. So we're doing that every single morning, 6 days a week, where we're learning how to overcome the objections and things of that nature. So it got to a point where they would start to tell us things in the sales process that felt like manipulation. It felt like we were doing things that manipulated the customer, or we was tricking the customer into the sale. And they would have things called fear of loss, or operating on impulse, teaching us how to make people impulsive, teaching people how to make people fear as if you don't buy now, this thing is going to be gone, right? So, and they was using something called the Jones effect. Well, buy it because they have it too. You see all those other people, they bought it too. So a lot of things, or they would say, oh, we only got 2 left. We only got 2 slots left. Little tactics that we felt was lies. We felt like it was manipulation. We felt like this is not godly. And it just felt like we were tricking people so we could sell. Now these are things that are normal in as tactical approaches when it comes to sales. These are just not something that this company showed us. It's something that most companies operate with, right? Most businesses operate with the same sales tactics. So we're learning these things, and as they're teaching us some of these things, we'll do them. And like initially, we were kind of doing some of the stuff, and then it just didn't feel right, right? It just didn't feel right. So it was, we kind of went with our convictions, and we said, well, we're going to do this whole sell process. So when you're selling somebody, you're taking them from point A to point B. From not thinking about the product to signing on the dotted line right now to paying money today. So you're taking them from here to here. And there's a whole trail in between that you got to learn how to navigate to get them from here to here. So what me and Nadia started doing was leaving out portions of it that was deceptive. We started leaving out the portions that was manipulative, because there's a lot of manipulation in there to get the person to come in the store looking to buy some ham and end up buying cable TV before they leave. So it's you gotta govern the people and lead the people on this trail. So what me and Nadia start doing is talking amongst ourselves and saying, well, we're not gonna do this, this, or this, right? So we still got to go through the process every day when we are pitching each other, when we are acting like the customer, and one person's acting like the customer, one person's acting like the sales team. We still have to go through the process of it. But even in the process, we started leaving out the tactics, right? So now the thing is, this was a job that was 100% commission. So if you don't sell anything, you don't make any money. So you can go to work and you can work 12 hours that day. But if you don't sell anything, you're not gonna make no money, and you can go to work for that whole week and make no money. And if they paid you a check, it would be $400. And that $400 that they paid you when you made no money, when you make some money, you gotta pay it back. So it's called a draw system. You gotta pay it back. So we decided we're gonna trust the Lord. We're gonna do it the best way we can do it, and we're gonna just trust the Lord. So what happened is, the sales job had tiers of elevation. Okay, so in the beginning, you come in not knowing anything. And then once you meet certain criteria, we'll make you what we call a leader. Now, a leader now has achieved a certain level, and he is able to teach other people. He's able to make a team now. So you've achieved this level, and you're able to make a team. So everybody in the office is trying to achieve this level so they can make a team, right? Because everybody in that office wants to grow to a greater status in life. Like we want to make more money. We want to own an office. We want to, because they sell you on owning an office. So everybody there is not just there to be like a common employee. Everybody there is trying to go through the levels so we can be six-figure owners like a lot of other people in the company. So me and Nadia, we made a decision that we weren't going to sell on those tactics. We started leaving those things out. We found a way to maneuver the sale and leave those things out that were deceptive, right? So in doing so, the Lord honored us. The Lord honored us, and Nadia made it to a leader. Remember, you got to sell X amount to become a leader. If you don't sell X amount, you're not a leader, right? So Nadia made it to a leader, right? Using the tactics that were integral. Right? Now, there's people in the office that's still not making it to a leader, even though they're using the other tactics. They're using the scammy tactics, the lies, the deception. They're using the tactics, and they're still not becoming a leader. So then I made it to a leader. So then now me and Nadia in the office, we're both leaders in the office. So now we're going to our own stores now. So now we have somebody that we're building up. We have a team under us now. So what the company is doing is taking people who know no sales, teaching them how to meet a certain criteria in sales. That's showing that, oh, you know what you're doing. And then now we're going to teach you how to teach somebody else. If you can build a team, then we can give you your own location, your pay raises, and these are your stores. These is your retail stores, I mean like Lowe's, Home Depots, Walmarts. These are your stores that you're over. You have your own office. But first, you got to prove yourself that you're able to learn it, that you're able to consistently do it, right? And then that you can teach other people to consistently do it. And then now you're prepared for us to promote you by the regional office. That's how they promote. So what happened is it got to a point where now that we're a leader, we have to teach other people how to sell. So Nadia has to teach other people. I have to teach other people. Me and Nadia are not going to the same store to sell. She's going to her own store. One store can be in Baytown. Another store can be in Atascocita. So sometimes I'm driving my car. Sometimes Nadia might be riding with somebody else because at that time we was operating on one car, right? So now she has to teach her people. I have to teach my people, and we're both leaving out the deception. We're both leaving out those areas that we're supposed to be teaching our people. But we're not teaching them because we're going to serve the Lord. We've decided that we're going to serve the Lord, and he gave us confidence because he's made us some of the top sellers in the office without using the things that we were all taught to use. And there's people that use it and still can't do it. There's some people that sell a lot, They'll sell a great amount of things per day, and then the next day their people are canceled. So the sale it doesn't go through until it's installed. So we're selling cable TV. Somebody sell you today, but if you cancel in one day before the person comes and install it, you don't get paid. So some people, they could get a person to be impulsive and do it right now. But that person gets home and they don't feel good about it. So they sell. Some women use their seduction in sales, and they get a lot of men to the table, a lot of men sign, a lot of men pay the initial. But when they go home, that lust wear off and they say, what did I sign up for? And then all their people cancel, right? So we were doing things in a way that we was honoring the Lord to the best of our ability, right? And the Lord blessed us. And then the Lord blessed us, and he blessed me in this moment where he made me and my team meet the criteria to where they say, all right, Mark, you get to pick your location, where you want to go. Where would you want your office to be at? Where would you want your team to be at? And then that's when we moved to Tyler, Texas. We moved to Tyler, Texas, and it began to be something else at that point. But my point is, we decided to do it the way that was right, that we know that was clean, and the Lord honored us, even though we worked for a company that said, teach this, this, and this. Now, we used to be in front of the whole team. Like, I would be in front of the whole office teaching them the steps of sales, the steps of marketing, how to do this, how to do that. And I was still leaving out all the scammy stuff in front of the whole team. But I don't think God calls them to recognize it. I don't think, because I've never been confronted like you left that out. You left that out. I don't recall being confronted about it. But because the Lord prospered us, it didn't matter who cares what he's leaving out. He's prospering. Who cares if he doesn't do this step? Because that was the criteria, but who's going to get on you? Now, if you start failing, then they're going to itemize you. Like, oh, you didn't do that. That's why you're failing. So they're going to itemize when you fail. Right? So I want to show you today and give you more encouragement on if you stand for the Lord and do the things the way that the Lord wants you to do them, that the Lord will not leave you and abandon you. He will bless you. He will keep you, and he will show you that, no, if you serve me, no matter what is going on, I'm going to bless you. If you serve me, no matter what the criteria and the standards are and the pressures that you're feeling, I'm going to bless you. So, and other people can see the Christ in you when you have to be the one teaching them, talking to them, and they say, oh, you have integrity. Or you in sales like us. I thought all of us was liars. Or you're not a liar. You're not a deceiver, but we all doing the same thing, but you're not a liar nor a deceiver. Right? So let's go to the book of Daniel. We're going to go to chapter 1 in the book of Daniel. In the 3rd year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his hand, and the part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in all knowledge and understanding, science, and such as had the ability in them to stand in the king's place, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank. So nourished them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. All right, so we sing in verse 4. It said they wanted to bring some children in front of the king that were wise, that were understanding of science, that were going to be his next servants. But they wanted to prepare them for 3 years before they were presented in front of the king, because they can't just take foolish kids that don't look well, because he wanted them to look well, not only be wise, but they had to have the physical appearance as well as what. So that's what they were doing, preparing the children. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Right? So we see four is Daniel and his friends. And to whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. So we see the changing of the names. For he gave unto Daniel the name of Belshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and of Mishael of Meshach, and of to Azariah of Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. So here we see that under the king's authority, these men are supposed to eat the king's meat and drink the king's wine. Now Daniel is saying this meat has been consecrated and devoted over to the gods that King Nebuchadnezzar serves. So this meat is polluted because it's been given over to these gods. They've been consecrated to this god, this wine and this meat. So now they're giving it to Daniel, and because Daniel had the fortitude and the integrity, internal integrity, he said, "Look, I'm not going to eat that meat. I'm not going to drink that wine," because he said he purposed in his heart. Nobody gave him a list of rules. He said, no, he said within himself, this is given over to Satan, it's given over to false gods, and we don't honor God like that. God has commanded us not to eat these things. So even though we're in a strange land, even though it's not only us that's alienated to eat this, but they want all of these children to eat it, but I'm not going to eat it. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. You see who is establishing Daniel's step? Even though Daniel is in a place where his God is not honored, God has still given him favor with the prince of the eunuchs. So God is the main reason why Daniel was able to make this stance and why it turned out the way that it turned out. Because Daniel was in right standing with the Lord, because he sought to honor God. So this was a pattern in his life. This pattern that we see right now is the same pattern that he had before they were taken. Daniel already had this pattern of honoring God. It didn't just start when he was persecuted. It didn't just start in his trial, but it started beforehand. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse likened than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. He said, if you don't eat this and you look different, you're going to make the king kill me. Why should I endanger my head to the king? Then said Daniel to Mezar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. So this pulse is like salad. Like, give us vegetables. Give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Instead of meat and wine, he's saying give us. So he's not concerned about the taste of it. Right? He's not concerned about the taste. He said give us vegetables and water while they're drinking wine and eating the meat. Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenance be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat, and as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. So we see what God did. They spoke up. And his friends, they spoke up. They said, we don't want to eat this. Prove us 10 days. Give us this to eat. If our faces look worse than the other children, then we'll go and eat it. Or do what you need to do with us. But they spoke up. They stood up. So one of the first steps in standing with the Lord against the pressures is saying something. It's not going with the flow. Speaking up. Let your voice be heard. Put your trust in the Lord, because that's what Daniel had to do. Let us eat vegetables and water. Improve us 10 days. So he's putting his trust in God. He knows if he eats vegetables in the natural, if you eat vegetables, what's going to happen? You're going to get skinny. You're not going to look the best if you're just only eating vegetables. So in the natural, that's what is supposed to happen. But he's saying, I'm going to trust God. So I'm going to go to this man, give us 10 days. Now we're going to see what the Lord going to do. Because I put myself in your arms, Lord. I put myself in your hands. Now let's see what you're going to do. I'm going to lean to trust in you. I'm not going to try to, I'm here now. I guess I got to just do how everybody else doing. Guess I got to just go with the flow, right? But that wasn't in Daniel. His heart was, no matter where we are, I want to honor God. It's not a show. It's not about a show. It's internal. He purposed in his own heart, I want to serve God, and I'm not going to defile myself. And I'm not going to make them defile me either. I'm not going to let them defile me. So he stood. And he purposely avoided compromise. He purposely avoided compromise. And at the end of the days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat of the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and wine that they should drink, and gave them pulse. See what happened? Now they got their own menu. They have their own food that now God has allowed them to eat because they have sought to glorify God. As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. So let's look at their positioning of their heart. They stood for God. What did God do? God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now you see how these 4 children were positioned. They were positioned to receive all these blessings from God because they sought to honor God. Instead of going how the society is going, I'm going to honor God. And now you see what they have. They have more knowledge, more wisdom, more understanding. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. None of the other children was found anything like them. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. So he had magicians and astrologers in his realm. This is a huge place, and he got 4 children that are better than all of them. Look at the blessing of God. They put their trust in the Lord, and look how the Lord rewarded them. The Lord rewards those that trust in him, that lean toward him, that seek to honor him. That's who the Lord rewards. And Daniel continued even into the first year of King Cyrus. It was their convictions that were in the inner man, that were invisible, that put them on a course to receive a miracle in the physical. So it was their convictions that was started off inwardly, on the inside, that put them on course for God to be able to show his power in the physical. He's able to show a visible miracle because of their initial convictions. So they put themselves right in line. Only God can do this. If I do this, only God can make this work out. God, you're calling me to do this? Well, only you can make this work out. So their inner convictions cause God to honor them visibly before men. Now they're receiving honor from men. They're looked at as higher than the magicians and astrologers in the realm, right? That come from that area, that come from that jurisdiction. They're looked at in a higher, more valuable way. So it said the king inquired of them, like, where are these guys at? Where they at? Where are these children at? They inquired of them. All right, let's flip over and go to the 3rd chapter. These children were put to the test by God and were proved by God in the sight of men, in the sight of many people. And just as our tests are in the sight of man, in the sight of other people, just as God tests us and proves us and sets us up to where he can deliver his power and his miracle, these trials will continue, and just like they will with us, they continue with them. So this wasn't the ending of their testing right here. This wasn't the ending of their proving. They went through that test. And now, as we'll see in the 3rd chapter, we see them entering into a more severe test. A test now between life and death. Choosing the Lord or dying. Choosing the Lord and dying for your convictions. So, 3rd chapter of Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. So we know where Babylon is at, right? Like present day Babylon is Iraq. So that's present day Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, sent to gather together the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the province to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar, the king, has set up. So this is the same where if a city erects a statue, right? Erects a statue of an image of some man that they're honoring, they're going to call the police, they're going to call the mayors, they're going to call everybody to come out to this dedication, to honor this. They're going to bring the news reporters out. They're going to bring everybody of status out. So this is what he did. He erected a statue of himself to glorify and honor himself, and he called everybody out. He called the counselors and the sheriffs. He called everybody of notable power out so they could give all glory and honor to him as a collective, as a group. Then the princes, the governors, the captains, and the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together into the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then an herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, suckbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up." So we know Nebuchadnezzar had told that herald, when everybody is gathered, this is what you command them to do. So now all authority figures are gathered. When all the authority is gathered, you tell them to do this. Now, if the authority has to do it, everybody's subjected under that authority. All the regular civilians also would have to worship when they hear the flute, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all of these different instruments. So as we see also, Nebuchadnezzar is just an imagery of Satan. He's just imagery. He's just like a type of Satan. He said, look, I got this statue, but when you hear this music, that's when you worship. So the way he's ushering people into worship is music. He's using music to usher people into worship. That's the same way Satan does. When you want to get your message across, wrap it up in music. You want them to receive it a little better, wrap it up in music. See, a lot of things would sound foolish or look foolish if no music was surrounding it. No music was surrounding it, you'll see it for what it is. But when you hit put the right notes and melodies, the right sound, people just eat that up. They'll eat up almost any message with that music. And Satan is just a counterfeit of God. He's the great thief. God uses music as well, but God is righteous and he's just. When God gives the message, it's good, it's life-giving. But Satan is corrupt, but he still takes the same avenues that the Lord uses. He still takes the same avenues. We're going to use music, and you're going to, when you hear this music, worship this statue. Worship this statue. And this is the thing. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. So whosoever does not at that same hour worship, you're going to be cast down. This is the same type of worship that Satan is going to require out of the citizens in the earth. The same type of worship that the beast is going to require. That either you worship him or you die. You worship him or you die. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar, the king, had set up. Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and said unto the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worship it, that he should be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon. Or meaning certain Jews who you've given these places of position who refuse. Right? O king. He said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods. See, look at, you hear that? They serve not just, it's not just about Nebuchadnezzar. It's about worshiping his gods as well. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So you see, it wasn't even just about worshiping Nebuchadnezzar. See, he brought the other thing. See, they don't serve your gods either. They don't worship your gods. They don't believe what you believe. They don't behave in how you behave. They don't validate the way that you're living. They don't validate what you're doing. These guys don't serve your God already, and now they're not bowing to your image, right? Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that they brought these men, then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if ye be ready, that at the time that you hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kind of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made well. But if you worship not, ye shall be cast in that same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? So you see, now the conflict come to the light. The conflict has come to the light now, because at the end he said, and who is that God that's going to save you? Oh, you don't want to worship my gods. Well, who's the God that's going to save you? Who's the God that's going to step in for you if you don't do? He's basically saying ain't nobody going to step in. That's what he's saying. Ain't nobody going to step in. I'm going to throw you into this fiery furnace if you don't do this. So he said, I'm going to give you one more chance. I'm going to give you one more chance. Now in the next hour, when you hear that, bow down. If you do so, it's okay. You can continue to live. But if you don't, you're going to die. Right? And now the spiritual conflict that's already been going on been brought to the right now, the physical. It finally been said. The spiritual thing that's already been an underlying issue is now at the top. So that's how it is in the world. There's a spiritual clash, but one day it's gonna be brought to the surface. Spiritual clash is that unspoken things between people, unspoken things within society, right? We know what it is, but one day it's gonna be brought right there to the surface. And then you're gonna have to make a decision of what you're gonna do. How are you gonna respond? Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar. Oh, look, I feel like they started that off wrong. O King Nebuchadnezzar, your highness, right? We don't see none of that. Oh, live forever, king. None of that. O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. Now you see how they already can't look. Look, I don't really care how you take what I'm about to say. That's basically what he said. I don't care how you feel about what I'm about to say. Already he started off with the power of God. That was the power of God. Oh, I honored you up until this point. Now we're talking about God. Okay, so this is his demeanor. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So first, see, that's the thing. Now the power of God now rose up in Daniel. That's why he was able to say what he's saying with such boldness. This is the king that he's talking to. This is not his brother, his friends, his cousins. You talk to a king a certain type of way. The king got your life in his hands. The king can have somebody come and kill you immediately. But the power of God rose up and he's, I don't care what you do to me. I'm going to stand with the Lord. I'm not going to serve your idols. I'm not going to worship you. I'm not going to worship that statue. God is going to deliver me. But if he doesn't deliver me, just know we're not going to bow down. We're not bowing to you. So if the God who I love and I'm trusting in, if he don't deliver me, just make a note that we didn't bow to your gods. We didn't bow and we're not going to serve your gods. Right? Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That just means he manifested now. His anger is steeping now. And that affection and that respect that he once had for them and their wisdom and their knowledge, all those things are now behind. Like they don't mean anything now. He's now blinded by the fact that they won't worship him. He's forgetting who they actually were to him, what they actually meant to him. Those things don't matter anymore because now Satan is at the front. His anger is at the front. You're not going to worship me. You're not going to serve my gods. Now the warfare is out in the open, right? And he commanded the most mighty men. Look. The most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So he's already starting off with his power, flexing his power. He commanded the most mighty men and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So imagine going to get your most mighty men out your army. the strongest men, throw them in the furnace. They go to throw the three Hebrew boys in the furnace, and they die as they're trying to throw them in the furnace. So now what he's meant for the evil for them is already turning bad against him, because his now three mighty men have now died. Now we're looking at God. What we're looking at now, pay attention, because we're looking at God. We're looking at what God did. The devil in him said, I'm going to flex my strength right now. I'm going to go get my mighty men. And God lined his heart up to do that, just so he can kill them before they even get the boys in the fire. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen. I'm sorry, let me go back. Let me go down a little bit. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished. Hold on, I'm sorry. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound. So how is it that they made it to the fire, and the other men couldn't even deal with the heat of the fire? Because the other men died before they even got the guys in the fire. And here they go bound. He's looking at them bound in the fire, right? And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast three men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see four men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. So it said, we threw them in the midst of the fire, and they were bound up. Then why do we see four people just walking around in the fire? Just walking around, and one of them looked like the Son of God. I'm like, how you know how the Son of God looked, Nebuchadnezzar? You got a revelation, immediate revelation. So you've been serving all these other gods, and God gave him a revelation. Oh, this is the Son of God, right? This is the real God right here. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake, and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, and captains, kings, and counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. So imagine being in a fire so hot that's killing men before they even get to it. And you're in the fire, and your pants are not burnt, your hair is not burnt. You don't smell like you just was in a fire, right? There's nothing that's showing me that you were just in a fire. Then Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any God except their own God. So now we see how God was able to change it. God completely changed that whole scenario. Because I'm going to read on just to show you the change. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, language, would speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, like anything evil, Meshach, and Abednego, shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. He said, look, ain't my gods can't do this. It's no other God that can do this. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So were they promoted because of their own wisdom, their own skill, their own labors? Nope. They were promoted because they trusted in the Lord. They trusted in the Lord when a lot was on the line, when their own life was on the line, when their own well-being, they won't see another day. So I'm willing to not see another day. Who cares about a future? I'm going to stand with the Lord. I got cousins out here. Who cares? I'm gonna stand with the Lord. They was willing to lay their life down for the Lord, and they laid it down for the Lord. And the Lord was right there with them. He was right there with them to protect them. So the Lord will be a shield and a defense to all those that trust in him. The Lord will be a shield and a defense for all those that put their trust in him. Trust in the Lord with all of thine heart. Lean not to your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. May the Lord add a blessing to those who obey his word. Amen.